So I apologize for the lighting in this room. Unfortunately, it's less than ideal and I haven't got any better lights just at the moment. But what we have here is we have a couple of Mybo Heatwave carbon shafts with the nocks already fitted to them. I also have some 4-inch feathers. They're all right wing feathers. 2 yellow, 1 white, so the cock feather is white. They've already been they've had the tape pre-applied, so this is just Bohning Fletch Tape. I also have a tube here of the Bohning Fletch-Tite glue, which I will use just to finish off the fletching with, and I have my Bohning fletching jig. So the first thing I do is, just to make sure that the shafts are nice and clean, everything's hunky-dory, is I take some methylated spirits on a tissue and I clean the section of the shaft that is going to be fletched. On some of my arrows I use wraps, especially ones that are going to be used for stumping or whatever. I will use a wrap that is nice and brightly coloured, just to make it easier to find the arrows when you're out in the field. So with my boning jig, I will set it up ready to go. I tend to do the cock feather first. So you place your feather in the clamp. I'm using the straight clamp here, and what I've done is I put the rear edge of the feather just to the first long line. It gives me a nice consistent placement of the feather on the shaft. So I'll do this way around so it's a little bit easier to see. The index notch on the nock goes up, so this has already been preset, so this is now, it'll do the cock feather first. So the shaft goes into the jig. I already have the feather in the clamp, so now I just need to peel off the tape. It's always easier said than done, unfortunately. I may need to speed this bit up. There we go, finally. So we have the feather, we have the clamp, everything's good. So then put the butt of the clamp up against that, stick it onto the shaft and apply pressure. Now I have this fletching jig set up to give me a very slight angle on each feather, just to give me the spin that suits my bow. I have a buck trail American flat bow, and it just likes a little bit of angle on the feathers, nothing too crazy. So you make sure that you apply plenty of pressure just to make sure that it's definitely stuck, and then you simply open the clamp and slide it. Then we turn the wheel on the jig till the next clunk, and we start all over again. So now we're on to the yellow feathers. The yellow feathers, I like using white and yellow just because it stands out, especially in a slightly darker woodland where I tend to shoot. And if you're, shooting in the back garden or whatever, the colour isn't really important because you're not likely to lose arrows. But this just means that when I do take them into the forest, I don't lose them either. Same problem getting the tape off. I do prefer tape though than using the glue to glue the actual feathers on, simply because I'm not a very patient person, and doing this means fletching is a bit quicker. Well, that's the theory. In practice, it's not always the case, especially if you're working with a bit of tape that just doesn't want to come off. Okay, here we go. So there's the backing tape off. Same thing. So I've already rotated this to the next index. We are now sticking the feather on. Same thing. Apply a bit of pressure. Leave it just for a few seconds. Now, you see now this is the second feather. Same thing. So we now have 2 feathers, and we just turn this to the next detent. Click, and there we go. So now we place the last feather in the clamp, making sure, of course, to line all the feathers up to the same mark on the clamp so they all come down to the same point on the shaft. Everything looks nice and symmetrical, everything's nice and good. With a bit of practice though, it doesn't take very long to do these. Having said that, of course, when you're doing it on camera, everything always takes longer and it's more difficult. Murphy's Law.
Talk amongst yourselves until I get this to cooperate.
There we go. So that's the third backing. So same thing again, butt the clamp right up until the bottom of the holder. Make sure that it's sitting up against the magnet, and then just slide it until it contacts the shaft. And there we go. Just leave it for a few seconds, and then we can take it off. So there we have it, a fletched arrow on the carbon Mybos, 500 spine, and it's got a white cork feather and then 2 yellow ones. Now at this point I like to make sure that nothing's going to fall off, they're going to suffer too much. This is where I bring in the Fletch-Tite, and on the end of each end of each feather I just put in a little blob of adhesive, like that, and I just do the backs as well, just to make sure. You probably could get away with not doing this, but I'm a belt and braces sort of person, so. And there we have it. We just leave that to dry, and we have a fletched arrow, where it didn't take very long, reasonably quick to do. These are actually nice carbon shafts for a budget conscious archer. Take them into the woods, you lose a few, it's not the end of the world. So next time we will glue in the inserts and put the knock or the points in, and you'll see what they look like. But thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.